Isaac Del Toro didn't just win a stage at the UAE Tour, he changed the conversation. On the legendary slopes of Jebel Hafeet, a climb that has crowned champions and exposed pretenders for years, the young Mexican rider delivered a performance so explosive, so precise, that it erased the benchmark set by two of the sport's biggest names. And in doing so, he announced something the cycling world may not have been fully ready to hear. A new generation has arrived. Jebel Hafeet is not just another climb. Rising 10.6 kilometers at an average gradient of 6.9%, it has long served as the ultimate proving ground of the UAE Tour. Every year, the strongest climbers come here knowing that the race will be decided on these unforgiving slopes. Time gaps are honest, effort cannot be hidden, and history remembers the riders who conquer it. For years, that history belonged to Adam Yates and Tadej Pogačar. Their performances turned Jebel Hafeet into familiar territory, a mountain where dominance was measured in seconds and consistency defined greatness. Yates' 26 minutes and 13 seconds in 2023 stood as the reference ride. Pogačar himself had twice climbed it in 26:16, setting a standard few riders even dared to approach. Until 2026. Because on this day, Isaac Del Toro didn't approach the record, he destroyed it. The race had already been tense heading into the final stage. The general classification remained open, the margins tight, and everyone understood what was coming. Jebel Hafeet doesn't allow surprises. Riders reveal their true condition here, whether they want to or not. Teams position themselves carefully, protecting leaders, controlling tempo, waiting for the decisive moment. But cycling rarely follows expectation when a rider is ready to change history. As the peloton began the climb, the pace immediately felt different. There was urgency in the rhythm, a sense that this wouldn't be one of those cautious additions decided by a final sprint among exhausted climbers. The tempo rose steadily, thinning the group kilometer by kilometer. One by one, domestiques peeled away. The mountain began selecting its contenders. Del Toro stayed quiet. No dramatic early attack, no wasted movement, just patience, the hallmark of riders who understand exactly what they are capable of. Watching from behind, rivals could see he was comfortable, almost relaxed, saving something for later. And then came the moments. In the final kilometers, when fatigue normally forces hesitation, Del Toro accelerated. Not violently, not chaotically, but decisively. A clean, controlled surge that immediately created separation. Antonio Tibri tried to respond, but the gap opened with alarming speed. It wasn't just an attack, it was a statement. The cadence remained smooth, almost mechanical, as Del Toro rode into clear air. Spectators lining the climb sensed it instantly. This was not a rider hanging on. This was a rider building something extraordinary. The clock began to tell the real story. Every split suggested something unprecedented was unfolding. The pace didn't fade. The acceleration didn't punish him later. Instead, Del Toro sustained the effort all the way to the summit, riding as if the gradient itself had softened beneath him. When he crossed the line, the time appeared, 25 minutes and 32 seconds. For a moment, it didn't register. Then realization spread. That wasn't just a fast ascent, it was historic. More than 40 seconds faster than Adam Yates' benchmark, 44 seconds quicker than Pogačar's best performances. On a climb barely over 10 kilometers long, that margin is enormous, the kind of difference normally measured across generations, not seasons. To understand how significant that is, consider the climb's history. Jebel Hafeet has produced standout rides for over a decade. In 2015, Esteban Chaves climbed it in 27:20, a time that once represented elite performance. Over the years, improvements came gradually, seconds shaved through marginal gains and stronger competition. Then Del Toro arrived and rewrote the scale entirely. And perhaps the most impressive part wasn't just the time, it was the context. Previous editions sometimes slowed near the finish as riders marked each other, waiting for sprints. This time, the race was driven relentlessly from the decisive acceleration to the summit. There was no hesitation, no tactical pause, just pure climbing at the limit, reflected perfectly by the stopwatch. The effort didn't just win the stage. It overturned the general classification, transforming the outcome of the entire UAE Tour in a single climb. Moments like this are rare in cycling. Not just victories, but shifts, performances that change how riders are perceived overnight. Until now, Del Toro had been viewed as one of cycling's brightest young talents. Promising, exciting, a rider for the future, but Jebel Hafeet turned promise into proof. Because beating champions is one thing, beating their records decisively is another. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. Pogačar and Yates had defined the modern era of this climb. Their names were tied to its identity. Now, a new benchmark exists, and it belongs to a rider still early in his career. It raises inevitable questions. Is this the beginning of a new rivalry within UAE Team Emirates? Is Del Toro emerging as the next Grand Tour contender? And what happens when the rider who just shattered climbing records lines up alongside or against the sport's biggest stars? Cycling history shows that breakthrough performances often mark turning points. A single climb can reveal a champion long before the rest of the world fully realizes it. For Del Toro, Jebel Hafeet may become that moment, the day everything changed. Because records matter in cycling, climbs become reference points. Future riders will measure themselves against 25:32. Analysts will compare watts, pacing strategies, and conditions, and every year someone will try to match it. But for now, the number stands alone. And so does the rider who set it. In 2026, Jebel Hafeet didn't just decide the UAE Tour. It delivered a new standard, a performance that sits above the marks of Pogačar and Yates and signals that the next chapter of elite climbing may already be underway. Isaac Del Toro didn't just win on the mountain. He became its new benchmark.